Let's get into this, man, because we got a lot of news going on right now that's affecting fantasy drafts, like literally right now. And one of the biggest news items coming out the weekend is that Devon Achane is going to be sidelined potentially for a little bit. Now, whether that's the rest of this preseason or whether that goes into the regular season are two different things. But right now, Devon Achane is at the top of a lot of people's draft boards, first round, second round ADP. And we know the upside when it comes to Devon Achane, but we also know the frame. We know he's a little bit smaller. We know the injury risk is there. Talk to me, Quan. How are you feeling about Devon Achane, knowing that he does have a soft tissue injury that may or may not leak into the first part of the season?
Put it like this. When I see calf pop up on any of the explosive running backs, I immediately just get a little worried about taking them off the draft board at a high draft price. Like if I have a draft this weekend, which I actually do, and my plan was like, look, I'm at that 111 spot. There is a possibility on that turn I can snag me a Devon Achane right there. Now I'm thinking different. Now I'm like, hold up. Like, I don't know. Like, I need more information on this. Like, I need it ASAP because, again, when we think about Achane, he's the workhorse of that backfield. Like, I do think that, Ollie Gordon may have something to say about that, or Jaylen Wright if he's still around as in that RB2 competition. But I don't know if I can spend the draft capital on Devon Achane today. So once we get closer to the end of the month and we get closer to, week one, we should have a full understanding of what this calf injury is, because we remember CMC last season, calf. That was popping up from June all the way up to goddamn August. And look how that turned out. Like, nah, brother, I'm not willing to spend the draft capital if I have a draft today, tomorrow, or this weekend, whatever the case may be. So proceed with caution.
Bro, it's tough, man, because he's the upside option there, right? Like you kind of got him. Brian Thomas is like the upside option. And you got a lot of the safety guys, right? Like Malik's kind of safe. Nico's safe. Puka's safe. Like there's safe players. Derrick Henry is safe. Achane's the one out of there. Christian McCaffrey's also there. If everything rocks, you're talking about like RB1 potential, especially in PPR leagues. But you do talk about calf, and now we also know what other injury that's associated with, and that's Achilles, and you don't want to go down that path. They talk about how much that lingers for players. Where I'm at when it comes to Devon Achane is I was okay with taking him in the first round at the turn, and it's essentially the same thing in the second round, but if you're at the 110 spot or the 111 spot, get the safer player first and then get Devon Achane if you want. And you're also just knowing you're taking a risk at this point. This is the same risk to me now as CMC. Before Quan, I was cool with taking him, first round and seeing where the upside went. I had to back that up a little bit. Now he's closer to like that CMC range to me where I'm taking him just based on the upside.
What it sounds like is that we ain't touching no running backs in the first round unless it's Gibbs and Bajan, bro. Like that's really how I'm preaching. Like when I tell folks, like, listen, it's really Bajan that I think is going to be off the board at the 101. When I hit that 106, 107, you might have a chance at Gibbs if he's not off the board already. So like I feel like on that back end, it's like a no-brainer to me that I'm going wide receiver at this point because A.J. Brown, Drake London, Brian Thomas Jr., like Puka, the names are there. Malik Neighbors, like all these names are sitting there in that range of the back end from the middle to the last end of that.
But when you talk about draft strategy, right, like you take two receivers there, which I don't mind, you do run the risk of everybody in your league, though, Laquan, taking running backs in those rounds because they dry up kind of quick. Like if Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, Kyron, these guys aren't off the board, don't you run the risk of like not having a running back there in the third and fourth round?
But on the dock today, we got a good value of running backs that are being overlooked once the streets get dry. There's a couple folks that you can smash on as your RB1s where I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I think I would like to get – it's not one of those things where I go into the draft and I'm like, I got to get wide receiver. I got to get running back, or I got to get, one of each. But I think Devon Achane, if you get the right floor receiver, if you get a Nico Collins, you can get like the floor guy. I don't mind taking Achane there over right around where A.J. Brown, Drake London are going. I think I'd rather have Drake London when it's all said and done. But I think to balance the team out and kind of give yourself a little bit of position flexibility with that third, fourth round, I'm not mad if you go with Devon Achane there. It is much more risk than you probably need to take on right now, but I ain't mad at it, especially because you start to think about it. And it's like there's no clear backup right now in Miami. We don't know who it is. Jaylen Wright, obviously a good pick last year. A lot of people are excited about him. And you mentioned him, Ollie Gordon, a guy you've been toting since the summer and really talking about.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this backfield, the secondary pieces in there? Because they're both fighting for the number 2 role. We've seen Jaylen Wright kind of struggle this preseason. Ollie Gordon has really looked the part this preseason. Great back coming out of college, fell in the draft. What's your thoughts on this secondary running back?
Now, know your league settings. If you have 7 or less bench spots, neither one of these guys are worth drafting. Both watch list guys. And again, we spoke about this before where some folks forget that is a underrated tool. The watch list is guys that you want to just have your eye on. Ollie Gordon would be the one that I would add to my watch list just based on the preseason performance. When we're seeing him versus Jaylen Wright, boy, I mean, the difference, man, when you look at the stuff rate that Jaylen Wright was putting up and then you see the explosiveness that Ollie Gordon has basically put on display for the world. I mean, he looks like an angry runner. I mean, Kyle Brandt better get that scepter ready for him because, boy, did you see him rock? Cuz like he put that shoulder down, bro. And look, a lot of folks look at Ollie Gordon's last season in college. Cool. Very huge decline from what he did in 2023. He was probably damn near the number 1 running back prospect coming out of 2023.
Yeah.
So when we look at the opportunity that he has right now, boy, you'll be a fool not to add him to your watch list because Achane with this calf is going to be next man up. And guess what? Ollie Gordon's wearing Raheem Mostert's old numbers. So I don't know if it's going to be Mostert's season for Ollie Gordon, but the talent he possesses is there. His ability in the passing game is there, as well as the check down where, Tua got to get that rock out quick. So if you hand it to a big body back like Ollie Gordon, he definitely going to get upfield with some yards.
But when we think about it, though, it's like, Jaylen Wright was also a higher pick last year. I think it was 3rd-round pick for him last year. And, the goal, you hear Tyreek saying, hey, we need to kind of use Jaylen Wright on 3rd down or Ollie Gordon on 3rd down. But the first name you mentioned was Jaylen Wright, bigger body back.
Yeah.
They've had this role for him since they drafted him last year. And he showed flashes last year. Obviously, the consistency wasn't there, but he showed flashes last year. And I don't know if I want to build too much into this preseason where, like you said, he's been getting stuffed a little bit more. Playing with the first unit, he struggled a little bit. He scored, a little bit later in the game. But I think Jaylen Wright is going to have first crack at the opportunity. If that's even if Devon Achane is out week 1. So I agree with you. It is more watch list season than anything. But if you have a deeper bench, for whatever reason, I think Jaylen Wright's going to get first crack at it. I don't know that he'll be better, but I kind of think Jaylen Wright is going to be the player that, like, if there's any chance that Achane is out, Jaylen Wright fits in there. The other part to that is I think if we're talking about pickups midseason, you're going to be spot on about Ollie Gordon because if Devon Achane gets hurt, I think there's more of a likelihood that Ollie Gordon takes the majority of the workload than Jaylen Wright, who I think is more of a complementary piece. Do you see it that way, or are you in disagreement with how I'm viewing it?
No, I could see it falling that way, being that he's a rookie. All right, you have to take that into account. Like the coaching staff is going to give Jaylen Wright every opportunity to perform because again, him coming out of Tennessee, boy, that yards per carry behind that mid-tier old line, god awful. He is explosive, and you see it in him when he has those flashes. But my only problem with Jaylen Wright, he is a short lease rental because he lacked consistency. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest issue last year as well, why he couldn't even fight his way to get on the field over Raheem Mostert in sense where like, all right, we know this guy's washed, but you should be well over Raheem Mostert. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where you see in the preseason, he's still having those same issues. The vision, being able to read and let the block develop, my boy. Don't run into your lineman. And that's where most of his stuff rate is at, is him running into his own lineman. When you see Ollie Gordon, there is no hesitation in hitting that hole. And he's a bigger back that I feel like he can bounce off these tackles. And there's opportunity on the back end of the season where we could see a shift in that RB2 role. But of course, we are all speculating. We're hoping that Achane is good because I'm hoping that we get news by tomorrow. Hopefully we get news by tomorrow because I still want to take him off the board in that early second round.
You're going to get him, and hopefully he's right. And, I think that's one of the things, too, is we get a lot of speculation around this time, a lot of rumors around this